Thank you, dear Mr. Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really delighted to welcome Anónio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, here in Vienna on his official visit as UN Secretary General, not only to Vienna because we are a host to many UN organizations and offices, but also because of our meeting tomorrow on the International Summit on Climate Change. Mr. Guterres and I are meeting, I think, for the third time already. I'm always looking forward to meet you and discuss the problems of the world, wenn ich es so sagen darf. Lassen Sie mich ein paar Worte auf Deutsch sagen, before I switch back to English. Also ich habe schon gesagt, dass Generalsekretär Guterres in einer offiziellen Funktion hier da ist, als Besuch in Wien, weil Wien ja Headquarter für viele United Nations Organisationen ist. Und zweitens, wegen dem Summit morgen mit Arnold Schwarzenegger und vielen anderen über die Möglichkeiten und Notwendigkeiten der Maßnahmen gegen die Klimaveränderung. Für mich ist das auch ein großes persönliches Anliegen. Diese Frage beschäftigt mich seit Jahrzehnten. Und es ist deprimierend zu sehen, wie wenig passiert ist, seit etwa Nick Stern, der für mich berühmte britische Ökonom, sein Buch geschrieben hat über die Economics of Climate Change. Damals hat er den Klimawandel als das größte Marktversagen aller Zeiten bezeichnet, und wir tun immer noch viel zu wenig und viel zu langsam. We hope that the meeting like tomorrow will promote the implementation of the Paris Climate Agreement. We will have in December another meeting in Poland, the so-called COP24, on the implementation of the Paris Climate Agreement. And also tomorrow, the R20 meeting is one of the events to help in that respect. Just 2 words about Austria and the United Nations. Austria is convinced that multilateralism is necessary and important. Cooperative multilateralism is really at the core of Austrian foreign policy for many decades already. So the presence of the Secretary General is of particular interest for us also in this view. The Secretary General and I discussed some pressing problems, among them, as you can imagine, the decision of the Trump administration to walk out of the so-called JCPOA, the Iran agreement, the situation in the Middle East, and so on. And I'm always saying I'm not envying the Secretary General in these interesting times. And you know, in Chinese they say that may you live in interesting times is a sort of was heißt Fluch in English? A curse, right. So we are living, I'm unhappy to say we're living in very interesting times. Welcome again, Mr. Secretary General. We hope to see you again very soon. Next month, in the fall, next year, you're welcome every day in the year. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. It's for me an enormous pleasure to be back in Vienna, this time as Secretary General of the United Nations, and to express my deep gratitude and appreciation. Austria is an exemplary host country for United Nations offices and activities. Offices and activities that are gaining more and more centrality in relation to the political challenges of today. Let us not forget that we are witnessing a serious risk in relation to non-proliferation. The nuclear issues are again in the center of the political debate worldwide, and the International Agency of Atomic Energy is in Vienna, and it will inevitably play an important role in the near future. The same with, of course, the nuclear test ban treaty and its progressive, or the creation of progressive conditions for its approval. On the other hand, when one looks at the developments in relation to cybercrime, to terrorism, it is clear that the UNODC is more and more a central agency in the activities of the UN. And so, fortunately for us, that those and other agencies that are, as I said, in the very central of the political debate of today are in Vienna and benefit from the exemplary support of the Austrian government. On the other hand, I'd like to pay tribute to the leadership of the President of Austria since many years ago in relation to climate change. And that leadership is today more necessary than ever. Climate change is running faster than what we are. There is a risk of the possibilities to achieve the objectives of Paris, of a growth of temperature in the world not above 1.5 degrees at the end of the century. There is a risk of, if things go on in the next years, of these objectives becoming not achievable. So we need to run faster. We need to have enhanced ambition. We need to implement Paris, but to recognize that Paris is not enough. The commitments made in Paris are not sufficient for climate change to be effectively controlled. We see the technology being favorable to us. We see that today renewable energy is the cheapest energy everywhere. But we are still also witnessing the fact that for many governments, fossil fuels go on receiving subsidies, and many infrastructure projects are not green. It is true, and it is a sentence that I've learned and I like to repeat: the Stone Age did not end for lack of stones. I believe the fossil fuel age will not end for lack of fossil fuels. They end when technologies are available and when governments and other institutions understand the need to use the technologies available to change things for the benefit of humankind. Tomorrow there will be a very important conference that represents an extremely valid contribution by Austria to lead in this area, and I'm very glad I will have the chance to participate, and once again to make sure that we all recognize that climate change is the defining threat of our times to the future of humankind.
Thank you. Due to the tight schedule of the Secretary General, there's place only for one question, and Mrs. Schwaha from the Austrian Press Agency will ask.
Good afternoon, Secretary General. The Austrian media is very much interested in an incident which took place in 2012 at the Golan Heights. You heard about it, I guess. So I would appreciate a statement of the UN, of you as a Secretary General, on that. And if I may add another question on the Middle East, you mentioned it before that you are very worried about the today's ongoings in the Gaza Strip. So maybe you could elaborate on that as well.
Well, first of all, we have full confidence in the Austrian authorities that have opened an investigation into those incidents, and we are absolutely sure that that investigation will lead to the adequate actions from the Austrian authorities, and we will be fully cooperating with the Austrian authorities on this. There is no reason for us to not to have full confidence on the Austrian capacity to deal with the issue. I had the occasion already to express I'm deeply concerned with the incidents that took place in Gaza. I'm appealing for necessary containment, and of course I'm particularly worried because according to the news I've received, it's already very meaningful the number of people having been killed. This is one reason more for me to believe that we need a political solution for the Israeli-Palestinian question, and that there is no plan B to a two-state solution in which Israelis and Palestinians can live in peace, with mutual security ensured, and with the full cooperation of the international community.